Right. Next up, we have leading global spa consultant and founder of Under a Tree, Amy McDonald, together with Brandon Campbell from Mito Red Light, who is also a performance coach. Perhaps if both of you could just introduce yourselves first before we dive into what we're going to be talking about. Amy, would you like to start?
Sure. First of all, I'd really like to thank you, Erin, so much for inviting Brandon and I today. And it's one of my favorite topics, so thank you. So I have been in the hospitality and wellness industry for a very long time, over 30 years. And I think I've been waiting all of these years to see where we are right now, where wellness and functional fitness and integrative medicine, where all of a sudden we're seeing that it's starting regardless of the type of business that you own. So for me, in the last 17 years, I have been the CEO and owner of Under a Tree, and we work with everything from day spas to resort facilities. We do recovery facilities. We work with senior care. We have really a large diversity. And what I love right now is that a lot of what we're going to talk about today is really applicable to all of those different types of wellness verticals. So I'm just excited to be here.
Thank you, Amy. We're so lucky to have you. Brandon.
Oh, thank you. Thank you as well, Erin. It's an honor to be here. I'm super excited to be having the conversation with you two wonderful women. And I am just very, very excited, just like Amy is, about where we are in this industry at large. I kind of started out in this industry by necessity after sustaining an injury early in my life. I kind of dove headfirst into wellness to help myself and then found out how gratifying it was to help others. So that's kind of what got my start. And for nearly 20 years now, I've been supporting other people and transforming the quality of their lives. And more recently, I've started working with Mito Red Light. And through that kind of work, I have launched a professional division within our company where we focus on touchless technologies and proactive wellness and really bringing those to market in a meaningful way where more and more business owners, one, really know what they can do for their customers and their clients, and two, how to implement them impactfully so that those clients and customers actually experience the tremendous benefits available to them. So that's what I'm most excited about here today, is really discussing that with both of you and really seeing how some of the listeners can immediately learn and apply some of what we're talking about so that their customers and clients can experience the miraculous benefits of these wonderful modalities.
Brilliant. Well, those were two brilliant intros. Great backgrounds, very different, but they have a great synergy as well. I think maybe if we start off first with the whole touchless technology, a little bit of background to it. What is it? And what are we seeing? What technologies are there that we are looking at? Maybe Brandon, you might want to kick off with that, with a bit of a science behind it.
Yeah, wonderful. So these technologies are really intriguing because we have so much of technology which isn't necessarily supporting our health and well-being in today's world, right? With the addictions of kind of these phones and social media and some of the light that we're exposed to all the time. So with a lot of technology that's kind of not exactly supporting us, these beautiful modalities are here as like providing technology to support our health and well-being. So clearly halotherapy is one of those, incredible with dry salt therapy. That's, again, most of these things have been around for a long time or have been at least known for a long time, but now technology has caught up, right? We have things now that are available at a consumer level and at a place where companies like the people who are in attendance here can actually afford them and place them into their business and make them available. So halotherapy is a great example. Red light therapy is kind of our initial specialty. So for those of you who don't know about red light, there are wavelengths of light from the sun that naturally impact the cells of our body and our physiology. Most of us don't get nearly enough sun exposure in today's modern world. So we've created these devices where you can get that therapeutic light so that your body can benefit directly from those wavelengths. They're phenomenal for a bunch of different reasons. There are other things like whole body cryotherapy that can now be done with electric, right? So we don't have to expose people to nitrogen gas and things like that, like we once had to. So many of these technologies are now really starting to bridge the gap between, okay, how can we have a better understanding of the science and apply it in a meaningful way so that people can experience benefit. So those are just a couple of the kind of fastest growing ones out there. There's certainly more that we can discuss with that, but the other piece that really is powerful here is, unlike a lot of kind of traditional spa and wellness services that require a lot of staff and require a lot of kind of hands-on involvement, these things don't, right? So they are touchless in that when someone goes into a halotherapy booth or halo room, they don't have to be interacted with. There doesn't have to be someone who's massaging them or doing anything else. Same with red light therapy, same with cryotherapy, compression therapy. There's a lot of these modalities where the person can experience benefit without the involvement of staff. And in today's world, trying to staff some of these extra services and modalities is not exactly fun. So this makes it very, very available, not only for the people to experience benefit, but for your business to experience benefit without requiring additional staff to make it happen.
Perfect. And also the word biohacking, that's been thrown around a bit together with these touchless technologies. Could you just shed a bit of light on that word as well?
Yeah, for sure. So biohacking is really.
I'm going to give that to you, Brent.
Oh, thanks, Amy. So biohacking is very interesting in that it's really kind of getting to know your own physiology, right, and understanding how your body responds to certain things. So that in kind of my frame is what it is. Again, I mentioned I started doing it early in life because I had to, because of the chronic pain that I was in, and just had to assess what was working and what wasn't, and really was deliberate in that. So today, when we hear that word, that's often what we're talking about is, really supporting people with evidence-based education so that they can understand how their body is actually functioning and whether the kind of behaviors that they're, eliciting in their own life are supporting a healthier, more natural physiology or not. And so with most of these modalities, that's kind of some of what they're doing. And just with those three that we had talked about, all of them have a lot of kind of their benefit based in the fact that they are giving us modernized ways of interacting with the natural world more directly, right? So the light from our red light therapy devices can be gotten from the sun if we were out in it enough. We can get cold exposure very easily, especially this time of year. Aaron, I know it's easier for you than it is for us here in Arizona, but there are definite ways that we can interface with these sorts of benefits in the natural world, but because of the way that we live, we really don't get those. So really the biohacking movement in a lot of ways is connecting our human organism with more of the ways that we would have kind of evolved as a species and as an organism to, have that health and that well-being and vitality. If you think to like just a microcosm of what exists in the world today and the populace, some of the healthiest, most vital individuals in the world are the last few remaining indigenous cultures that we have in the world, right? They don't have obesity. They don't have chronic disease. They don't have diabetes, right? These things don't exist in their cultures because of the way that they live their life and are more attached and living a natural way of life. So for us, that's kind of what biohacking is about, is how can we make that available to people in the modern world so you don't have to go live in a tribe in the Amazon to be able to have that health, but still like really benefit from what that exposure is and what it can do for your physiology.
And would you consider the biohacking to be kind of tailored to every individual rather than a one size fits all?
So best case, absolutely, right? Unfortunately, this is the part of this kind of wellness sphere right now that has the least kind of research to back it and found how some of these things work together, which is an exciting opportunity for people in attendance for this event. Because as we do move forward, that's really where the next layer of this happens, is more custom tailored design within the way that people implement these modalities, and then understanding that depending on the outcomes that someone has and the specific health benefits that they're looking to gain, the order in which they do some of these modalities can matter significantly. So there is no one size fits all solution for you go and do halo therapy first, and then red light therapy, and then cryotherapy, and then hyperbaric oxygen. That doesn't really exist because each and every one of our physiologies is craving and needing something specific in order to really start to come back into homeostasis, where we are in a naturally healthy body. And so for that, you're spot on, right? When it really comes down to the biohacking movement, you have some of these leaders in the space who kind of share a lot of what works for them, and it gains a lot of popularity. But then people often fall prey to that trap of just trying to do what they do and experience a similar result. And that really isn't the best way of approaching these modalities. You can gain some insight from what has worked well for other people, but really your willingness as an individual, both as a business owner and as a customer or a client of these modalities, is to really learn what serves my body the best. Does it work best for me to do red light therapy first thing in the morning to energize me? Or is it best to do it post-workout after I've just finished, a heavy workout? Or same thing with, kind of the halo therapy. Is it best to do it right in the middle of my day so that I can relax and de-stress and have some of that going on while I'm clearing my lungs? Or is it going to be best to do it at the end of a long day when I may have even more stress that's piled up by that point, to be able to kind of get back into a state of the parasympathetic nervous system where I can be in a healing state when I go home and see my kids or do that sort of thing.
I guess that leads nicely into you, Amy, because I think if we can't necessarily develop or provide something that is tailor-made to every individual person, what we can do is to create a journey and create an experience that gives a desired outcome. And then the person, depending on how they're feeling, can choose any one of those routines or journeys to go on, which is probably as close as we might get to a tailored, I guess, what would you call it, routine or treatment when we go to maybe a spa. So have you seen, or I know you develop some of these as well, don't you, creating these journeys for wellness resorts?
Yeah, so a lot of what we do is really look at who the guest is, right? Like, define whether you're an existing property or whether you're opening one, is to really think about who the three main target guests are. And this is whether you're a day spa or a resort spa. And, generally speaking, it's very similar, right? Like people are looking to recover, right? Recover emotionally. They're not sleeping well. They've got aches and pains. They're looking to reduce inflammation in their body. I mean, that's, a lot of the issue that we all have. There's a pandemic on sleep right now. So when you think about your guest and what they need, our recommendation is to think about 3 journeys, packages, whatever you want to call them, right? So that then when you're talking to the guests, you can say, well, what's really going on with you right now? What do you want to do to take your health to the next level? And typically they're pretty clear on being able to say, I'd really like to lose weight. I'd really like to sleep better. And so with that, you could say, okay, here are 3 different journeys that can support that, right? And a lot of those journeys would have the same offerings in them, but they might have a different length of time that you do them. They might be in a different order and they might be in a different frequency, right? And then obviously you can tailor it based on the type of business you're in. If they're in a resort, then typically, right, you're not going to necessarily get them very often, unless there's a membership component to your resort, right? But day spas have an incredible opportunity to say, okay, here are 3 packages. If you're focused on recovery and injury and kind of improving your performance, here's one that's really around sleep and, reducing anxiety, right? So you could have 3 pillars and have them try that. And as they do that, just to go back to what Brandon said, they will then be able to go, when I do this, I feel differently. I'd like to change the order. And especially in a day spa environment where you really have that intimate relationship with your clients, they can end up creating something that works for them, right? And it changes, as we get older, it changes, depending on what's going on in their lives. They may go, when life is stable, this particular package is great. But when I get super stressed out or I travel a lot or whatever it is, then this one works better. And it can be really their own, right? So that's, I think, the simplest way, because it is overwhelming. What about flotation? What about like all of these different things are really overwhelming for the business owner, but also for the consumer. So doing a little bit of that packaging and that curating really, really helps them so that they get to understand their own body and how it reacts.
Brilliant. And I guess a lot of people are also looking to get the best return on investment as well. So by creating these packages, you could potentially upsell treatments or journeys as well, because you're giving them that extra, almost, that you're just giving them something extra rather than saying go and fend for yourself. But on that side of things, there are a number of these that could also be layered, aren't there? So that you could combine some of these. And again, that's going to help improve return on investment, reduce the amount of time that people are in there, get more people through. So I don't know if you're able to explain maybe what you've seen or some of the ones that you've combined together, Amy.
So when you think about the larger trends that we're seeing, and obviously we were seeing these before COVID, and they're only now even more prevalent and relevant, would be social, right? Recovery, which is, mental health recovery, performance recovery, reducing inflammation. It's sort of a big piece, right? Sleep could potentially be in there. And so when we're looking at space, because we're almost always confined, right?
Yeah.
What I really love is this beautiful sort of dance, and maybe it's almost like a tension between the more traditional treatment rooms, because people still want to be touched now, maybe more than ever, right? So having those treatment rooms be super multifunctional, but then having these lounges, which we're really, we're seeing all over the place. And what I love about lounges is, and I'm not necessarily talking about a relaxation room, because I still feel like guests need somewhere to go pre and post treatment that is relaxing. So, if it's possible to have just a lounge, whether it's 2 or 4 or 6, depending on your space, right? Having a beautiful lounger that, maybe it's zero gravity, so that you can do reflexology, you can get behind the guest and do lots of work on their neck and, upper shoulders, but where you can do compression, where you can do IVs, where you could do oxygen, you can, you can do, the list goes on, right, of layering.
Mm-hmm.
And the guests, like, why couldn't you be having a pedicure at the same time as having IV therapy? Right? Why not, if you can do it from a timing standpoint? So those are the things that I really feel are our future. We're seeing it now everywhere, because you can go in for 30 minutes and get a lot. You're from a business, you're not buying a ton of really expensive equipment that where the return may be longer, right? But you're able to have a small space that generates a tremendous amount of revenue for your business, but value to your clients. And you can switch it up, right? They can pick from what they want. You can help them choose. So we're seeing that a lot, and we're seeing it in really high-end resorts, but we're also seeing it in day spas as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's social, a whole bunch of things about it that are really great.
And a lot of these touchless technologies that we're talking about, or the biohacking options, they are almost standalone as well, or prefabricated units. So it makes it very easy for places to add these in into a room that they already have. It doesn't necessarily take up too much space. I don't know if you want to run through some of the options that there are that are more like a finished unit that people can almost just put into place, rather than having to create these big elaborate rooms, which maybe are easier for the day spas if they are tight on space.
Yeah, so I'll just think right now I have a couple of projects, 3 of them that are different, where we've done something similar but very different depending on the type of business model. We have a day spa with really very focused space, and so we've actually been able to put, and I love the Halo IR because it's halotherapy, it's infrared, it's chromotherapy, it's aromatherapy. It's got a great, it's got meditation and music. So I love that it's small, it's compact, it's easy to use. So we were actually putting that into those little loungers so that someone could have be in a lounger, do whatever they want to do, and also have that as an added value. So that's one option where it's very public, because you can go in and get the benefits of all of those modalities clothed or in a robe. But then we've also done combinations of halotherapy and infrared, and also red light in locker rooms where a guest is going in and changing, right? They have men's and women's locker rooms. And so instead of having a steam sauna, or potentially in addition, we've been able to design these so that it's something unique and different, and it's complementary to, to the guest. And then we have others where they're actually in a room, in a treatment room, where it's combined, with potentially lymphatic, maybe there's a wet treatment that's done afterwards. Like, so the booth itself, whether it's infrared or, whether it's red light, are extremely versatile from an expense standpoint, space standpoint, maintenance standpoint, all of that. So yeah, I'm finding that they're great tools for us as consultants to be able to, to talk about with our clients.
Brilliant. And Brandon, I know I've seen a fairly new product that you have launched together with Halotherapy Solutions. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that product?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very fun when we get to see some of these things coming together in a way that, kind of there is some scientific foundation for, and it also is maximizing the benefit to the user in minimal time, right? So that's kind of what Amy was talking about with Halo IR. That's exactly what we've done with the Vitality booth as well. And so that is a halotherapy generator on a fully enclosed glass booth that does have red light that panels surround the person who's in the booth. So it's incredibly exciting because those modalities pair really beautifully together. And again, it's a standalone sort of thing that operates very, very affordably, right? So no staff required. And I just was doing the math for another customer who is getting one, and it's about 11 cents per session, all in, on the cost to the actual business for those, right? So somewhere between 7 to 15 cents per session, including the salt and all of the electricity to run it, right? So these types of booths are really, really cost effective. And because it's something that no one has seen, this is patent pending technology right now, it's really alluring and draws a lot of people in, where you can actually let them have an experience, right? For some of these things, you think about something like cryo, which was really popularized for this reason, high throughput, right? Like they could get a lot of people to experience it and then try to get them to buy a membership, right? But that's expensive, especially in the nitrogen-based world where you're paying, a lot for every single session that's run. Even though it's 3 minutes, there's still a lot of cost in that. So with something like the Vitality booth, with such a low cost to actually operate and run, right? It's fully set up to really have businesses be successful in giving their existing customers something extra that's incredibly valuable from an experience-based standpoint, and that they can really have a full experience with, right? It doesn't have to be a session, right? Like I said, somewhere between 7 to 15 cents a session at the cost to the owner, right? That's something where you can easily give someone 2 weeks of unlimited, right? Come in, use the Vitality booth for the next 2 weeks, use it 3 times for the next 2 weeks. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know how you're feeling and experiencing after having utilized these technologies. And that's very, very exciting in today's world, because it is something that's also we've thought through some of the other ways that we can make it more impactful for the business owner as well. So that unit does have integrated UV cleaning. So there's a UV light that is only keyed access for the person who's the business owner. So you can turn on that UV light and sanitize the entire booth in between sessions, at the end of the day, whatever is most appropriate for you and your use case. But when you think about something like that, the throughput is really great, because you can feasibly do with the powerful halotherapy generators that Halotherapy Solutions provides a 10-minute session, right? So 10 minutes works beautifully for halo and for red light. And so you're getting therapeutic benefits from both, and you can have 5 sessions per hour go through that, right? So there's a lot of opportunity there when you think about the customer base that you have. And if you do have existing services that you're already providing, like massage or some of those other things that Amy mentioned, it's so easy for them to do that sort of 10-minute treatment before or after those sorts of things. And it can make the other like touch treatments more impactful because of the science, foundations for those modalities. Exactly. So
better return on investment.
Exactly. And so their whole experience becomes like kind of even better in terms of what it's doing for their body because of some of the things that are done there. And so that's where we get really excited, is there are more and more ways to combine these things in a meaningful way and for everyone to win, right? Because again, like you would think that something of that nature would be very, very high in cost to operate because of the amazing benefits that it provides, but that's simply not the case. And the uniqueness of that, I think, is certainly worth mentioning.
Oh, also, I think we're almost crossing over as well with the recovery side of things into more of the sports world too. So are you seeing some of these modalities or units going into gyms or sports centers or places like that, rather than just the wellness side of the business?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, I know we both are, and I can say, for a fact that we've seen a lot of variability with the way that people are adopting these things. And I would even say that, when we look at traditional fitness, health club, athletic space, most of them have a really big push to become more about wellness right now, because they know that for a long time, for basically the kind of storied past of that industry at large, they've always known about the 80%, right? The other 80% is what they refer to them in the industry as, because they have no desire to ever step foot into a gym and clang weights around, right? So for that sort of organization, these modalities make it immediately an available option for them to capture the attention of the other 80% and have them have a compelling reason to come in and visit their beautiful health clubs, because many of them have a lot more to offer than just the fitness piece anyway. But because it's like in this package of a gym, people will never go in there. And so this is really beautiful. And we've seen now that a lot of these places are seeing the opportunity to create even standalone wellness memberships that have no, kind of involvement with the gym floor, with personal training services, with that sort of thing, where it just provides access to these modalities, because there are very large businesses that are growing very rapidly, as kind of we've seen over the last couple of years. And those are outside of the gym space. So when you already have a small, albeit kind of, in some cases, a lot of their traffic has dwindled a little bit because of what's taken place over the past couple of years, they still have a member base that is committed to their health and fitness, probably more than ever. So capturing their attention on site and then bringing other people in the door, it provides them with immediate differentiation, right? Because everyone does the 7-day, 14-day trial to a gym, right? That's the mailers. Those are the kind of things that you see all over. But very few places are offering a 14-day trial to a vitality booth or to proactive wellness services. And so that immediately differentiates those businesses and gives them a huge leg up on all of the other surrounding area competition that no longer is competition at that point, because they're not providing those modalities. So we have, our National Hockey League team here in Arizona, they've placed a couple of things with Red Light and the Vitality booth that they have in their center. So to your point, athletic organizations are coming around. There are some major NFL organizations that have added Red Light rooms to their recovery areas. So we're seeing a lot of this really start to compound. And it's certainly growing beyond the smaller sphere of wellness to now really fully encompass a lot of industries. And again, there's a huge advantage to the first movers in this space, no doubt about it. And that's something that's exciting, because the people that you have here who have registered are going to be in position to be some of those, so that they can really, do a lot with what we've discussed here today.
And a lot of these options also help improve performance, but also aid in recovery of sports performers as well. So we're not just talking about recovery from illness, we're talking about recovery from exertion and working your muscles hard. And that is obviously one of the things that halotherapy does. Infrared, red light, the cryo, they're all very good for athletic performance and recovery as well. I know that we're on a bit of a tight deadline.
Erin, I just wanted to.
Yes.
I just had one more piece, because it's been coming up a lot You know, for quite some time, even before COVID, I think day spas were really challenged because there was such an emphasis on fitness.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of people were struggling, like, do I have a membership to this day spa or to fitness, right? And now what we're seeing, and what I encourage day spas to, you know, if they don't have a lot of space, is to find partners, fitness partners that may not have enough space for a recovery lounge, right?
Yeah.
And to really become, you know, a partner with other companies, because if you are a spa, you can offer recovery and you can support a fitness center that wants to have that, right? So, you know,
Brilliant
I'm
idea.
really loving this opportunity to expand outside of the bricks
Mm.
and mortar of your business, right?
Yes, great idea. Think outside the box. Really look at what is on your doorstep and how you can both prosper, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. I know we're on as I said, I know we're on a bit of a tight schedule here. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time to share your information and insights and valuable knowledge in the industry. If anybody does have any questions, pop them into the chat and we'll try and get to them at some point. It'll probably be after the symposium. But thank you again, Amy and Brandon, for joining us today. I hope to see you soon.
It's a pleasure, Erin. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds great. It was wonderful chatting with both of you today, and I look forward to hearing the feedback from the attendees. You guys hopefully are inspired to take action on some of this and implement it in your business. And just one thing in closing, you don't have to start huge on this either. Erin is a perfect example where she's just starting with a couple of small devices to add on, you know, very simple services to give people exposure.
Mhm.
And then she plans on kind of adding that as more and more people buy in. So it is something that can be built out according to where you are right now, right? You don't have to start huge on this. So keep that in mind.
And also, Brandon, I just thought about the fact we didn't touch on retail. And so some of the things that we're talking about have a really incredible retail opportunity as well. So they can come in, they can fall in love, see the effects, but they can also, you know, just small units that obviously create retail revenue for the business owner, but extend the health benefits. You know, I know, I was just looking for mine. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's not like they're just something that stays in the building, right? They're great, great retail opportunities too.
Very
Yeah.
good
Agreed.
point.
Yeah. One I held up briefly. I don't know if you could see it, but this is one of our small devices that we do that explicitly for our professional partners, because it's a beautiful thing with most of these modalities in that it becomes really enjoyable, right? Some of the modalities are certainly more enjoyable than others. Red light is one of those. So when people enjoy the experience that they have with you, then when they do buy a small device like that they're using while they're traveling or while they're at home, they're reminded of the experience that they had with you first, right? And that's kind of our vision, is that it's not something that takes away from your business, but actually adds to it, that they share with other people. And then when they really want to like have a family member or a friend experience it holistically, they'll send them to you, right? And so that's kind of the thing that's nice, is it's basically providing your customers with a way to engage more of the community to get them in your doors and bring them back to your beautiful setups that you'll have in your business.
Perfect. Great way to end it. Thank you all.